Opening slide, graphic, text, Introduction to Self-Management, Part 3, Planning, with Deb Rouget and Teresa McAuliffe. Logos, Belonging Matters, NDIS, talksthatmatter.net.
All right, so I'm just going to hand over now to Teresa. And Teresa's going to take you through some planning tips. Thanks, Teresa.
Thanks, Deb. So when as Jane was talking about and Deb alluded to, life planning for your son or daughter or the person we're talking about is an all of life approach, and it's not that you would just do a plan just to receive funding. However, that is a component of what we're doing nowadays so that you can receive an NDIS plan. So what you want to be doing is doing your vision and your goal setting and your dreaming, and then bringing all of that into your plan meeting when you're sitting in front of an NDIS planner so that you know what you're asking for. So the idea is to go to your plan meeting really prepared. Encourage you to think about who can help you with that planning, all that pre-planning, when you're thinking about the creation of a good life. So it could be that that individual themselves has one-on-one support and helps them throughout, several months or a year, figuring out what it is that they want to do with their life and how they want to achieve things. You could get support from friends, from a circle of support, which we've mentioned several times, other family members, and even from an LAC to sit down and do some pre-planning. I encourage you to have a really clear vision. So again, remember I talked about bringing it into a succinct statement if you can, so that it's an overarching guiding principle for the work that you're doing. And then you want to look at using really broad goals. So again, like Deb suggested in Emily's life, she's got many goals, probably 20, 30 goals that she's trying to achieve in her year. But when you come to the NDIS plan meeting, you want to be pulling those into around 5 really broad, clear goals. And I'll give you an example of that in Mike's life. So this is Mike here. You can see him in the corner of the screen, actually, hanging onto his brother-in-law's arm, and his sister and his mum and dad and a circle member, a friend here. And they were doing some planning in this circle meeting forum here. Thanks, Deb. So Mike's vision for his good life is pretty much what's up in this bubble here. Mike is a valued and contributing member of society who has good life experiences and opportunities that are typical to other men his age. And you can see him here in this image with Kate, his housemate. He lives in his own home with 3 other housemates, and Kate is one of those. So what we've done is tried to help Mike. What he did was try to identify 5 goals that fit within his whole of life, that that encapsulated all of the goals that he's working on, that he could take to this plan meeting, so that he was pretty solid about what he was asking. So there are his goals there. One's about home, maintaining that and the supports he needs. One's about his communication. He has very complex communication needs and really needed to articulate that and get the support he required for that. Next slide, please, Deb. His 3rd goal is around his health, his well-being, and his community participation. So that's all about his meaningful recreation, engagement in his community, in certain valued roles in his community, and the important thing, his fitness, his health, his social well-being, those kinds of things. But also it was important in this particular year for Mike that he had support during the week, but also on weekends. So his 4th goal is about increasing his participation in employment, finding a job, keeping a job, and also enhancing his photography hobby, which you'll see he's got this lovely photo here of him taking some images of the beach there. And he's developed that into a small card business where he sells images of his photographs on cards. And his 5th goal was just simply to improve his independence as much as possible across his whole of life area and following typical pathways. The other thing that was really clear in this goal was that he did not want to pursue segregated or congregate options. And that helped, again, in the planning sessions, whenever, if a planner suggested an option that was not in line with his goal and vision, it was really clear that the family were able to say, that's not what we're after. We want to do this in this way. Thanks, Deb. So some tips about planning. One would be to develop a weekly plan. So think about your person and their life, and think about their week. And what is it that they're going to be achieving? What are the goals that they're working towards? And you saw Emily's, lots of those goals there. Just go back a slide, Deb. Thank you. In line with visions and goals, and get a clear picture of what life looks like and how you'd like it to be. So really thinking about that whole of life. Then working out the support that you might need for every moment of the day within that life. So we'll show you a chart in a minute, but every moment of that day, and what's the type of support that's needed. So is it paid support? Do you require the employment of someone to support them in that role? Or is it best supported by an unpaid support, by a family member or a friend? You know, is it about going out and spending some social time with friends, in which case that's unpaid support? Or is it direct or indirect support? So that's something to consider as well. Like, is it that one-on-one direct time that someone needs? For example, Mike needs that support throughout the day and most of the evening, most of the day for him. But some indirect support that he requires is a lot of support around communication and a lot of support around planning and thinking through things and helping him connect with other people. So there's a person employed to help him in his life to do those things. Who is best placed to provide support and how they'll do that? So really thinking through this really well, and we will talk a little bit more about this in our second webinar about support workers, about housemates, about the range of people that you can bring in to support someone in their life. So it can help to use a simple table to outline the paid supports that you do require, and that's what you might take to the NDIS to show them what you need. So my tip or my suggestion would be that you might start with 2 charts. So this, for example, in Mike's life was his first chart. This was the life that he was currently living. He was living part-time in his own home and part-time in his parents' home. So you can see the orange categories here was all of the support that his parents were still providing him in a very direct one-on-one every moment of the day type of support. So that was all weekend. Friday night he'd go back to mum and dad's, he'd stay there all day Saturday, Sunday, come home and stay with them on Monday morning, and then one of his staff members would pick him up on the day Monday morning and do some daytime with him and then drop him back home to his housemates in the evening. And so that evening support, the light green is all his housemates support, the dark green is all the paid staff supports, and the orange is his family support. So you can see here, you could tell the bulk of that green, both light and dark, but the green was all paid to some capacity. Deb, next slide, please. So now what we've done is showing you a different chart, and this was the chart that he'd worked on, you know, trying to go to his next NDIS plan meeting where he wanted to make a change. The big change was that he was going to live in his own home full-time now. He'd trialled that other experience for a couple of years and he was ready to move in full-time and have his own sense of life and independence away from his parents' home. So now you can see the paid supports are predominantly these staff support time, this dark green, where he does a range of things. He works, he does his own, you know, care for his house, shopping, cleaning, cooking, all of that stuff, developing his photography business, things like that. He volunteers on the weekend. And then the light green is the housemate support. So full-time, he's living in his own home with 3 other people who receive a reimbursement for their support. So that's also covered by the NDIS. And then he has a plethora of natural supports. It's not all indicated in this chart, but he has certainly a lot of Friday nights. He'll go out with a friend and spend time with them. He'll spend time with his sister and his parents, having meals, that kind of thing, going out and visiting with friends. And that's all natural support. His circle of support is all natural as well. So you can see it just helps if you can create a bit of a chart. It gives you something to take to the NDIS. It gives you a sense of the type of support that you need and the requests that you'll be making of them. Thanks, Deb. The other thing that's important in planning is to really think about social inclusion, highlight that and the importance of that, how important it is to have valued roles in life and that people are included and embedded in their community. We've also found, families have found that it can be useful if they highlight what will happen if the person doesn't get the support that you're asking for. So if Mike doesn't have housemates of an evening and a morning, he can't get up and get out of, get ready for work or school or whatever he's doing. And he certainly can't get himself organised and ready for bed. And he certainly can't be alone in the house by himself. So those they're a vital support. And what would happen is that whole arrangement would fall apart. He'd end up back at his mum and dad's house, and his mum and dad are aging. So that's not an option. He needs the support to live a good life. So just be clear about that and get specific about your particular person. It might be very clear about what would happen if they, didn't get the support they needed. And it's important not to accept a plan that you're not happy with. So just keep that in mind as well. You can request a change and don't accept it before it's over the line if you can.
Closing slide, graphic, text. This video was made possible with the support of the National Disability Agency grant, produced by Belonging Matters. Belonging Matters makes every effort to provide accurate and up-to-date material. However, information is subject to change and our material is for reference only. We recommend speaking to the NDIS, your LAC or planner for up-to-date or additional information. Logos, NDIS, Belonging Matters, talksthatmatter.net.